Hello, world. Welcome to another episode of Straight Talk, No BS. We're here to give it to you real and raw, no bullshit.
Hi, I'm Landria, the co-host of Straight Talk No BS.
And I'm your girl, Chris. Len, who are we interviewing today?
Today we're interviewing a very dear friend of mine of 20 plus years, Dalinda Burgess.
Hey, Dalinda. Welcome.
What's up?
Thank you for trusting us with your story. We really appreciate it.
No problem.
This is a safe place that we're all here just to have a conversation. I can't imagine that there's so many people out there that needs to hear this story, they just need to hear it to be able to get out of the situation that they're in. Right, Len?
Yep, I agree.
Yes, yeah. I agree. Domestic violence. Today we're going to be talking about domestic violence. And domestic violence is a topic that most people, male and females, are uncomfortable talking about, especially talking about it out loud, where they feel vulnerable. So again, Dalinda, we thank you. Thank you so much for sharing your story. So right now, we're going to give you the platform for you to introduce to us, your experience you had with domestic violence, how long that it did occur, where it occurred to, and the floor is yours.
Okay, well, I actually experienced it with my first boyfriend. I met him. I was away in college and I came home on break. And one of me and my friends, we went out to a club and I met him. I met him actually through her. She knew him. I didn't. So she introduced us and then we started dating and he was like the perfect boyfriend. At that time, I was still back and forth. I was still in college back and forth. And then I had gotten pregnant with our daughter. So I dropped out of college and came back. And we were living together and stuff like that. I would say for the first 6 months, everything was fine. And then after that, that's when I started to see the real flags. It first started with him being mentally abusive, emotionally abusive. And after that, it led on to physical abuse. Back then, I was very, very young. I, wasn't experienced. And I didn't know. And I tried to hang in there, for my daughter so she could have both parents. But it got to the point where I could no longer be with this person. The experience was a disaster, to be honest. He would tell me that I'm dumb, I'm stupid. He would accuse me of things that I hadn't even done. I couldn't look at anyone. If I looked at anyone and he thought I was looking too long or looking at a guy, he would physically abuse me. And at that point, I was terrified. He was my first real boyfriend, so I had never experienced that before. So me being as young as I was, I stayed in the situation. So that's just the gist of that, Landria. I ended up leaving when my daughter was about 2. And that was the best decision that I had ever made. But, no, go ahead.
So when you say that you went back and forth, I know you're from Bermuda. For those who don't know, you currently, at that time, you were living in New York, I believe, in the States?
Yes, upstate New York.
Okay, so when you was getting back and forth, you was getting back and forth from upstate New York to Bermuda?
Yes. Yeah.
And when you say that it was mental and emotional and physical abuse, can you elaborate when you say mental abuse and the physical?
Well, he would say things to me like I'm dumb, I'm stupid, and I'm crazy, and I need help. He was a serial cheater. And whenever I would find who he was cheating with or find out that he was cheating, it was all in my head. It was his cousin, and that type of stuff. And I was young then. that was my first real boyfriend. So I tried to hang in there to make it work.
And
So,
when you
yeah.
and when you say the physical abuse, what was some of the physical abuse you had experienced?
While I was pregnant with my daughter, he punched me in my stomach. And when we were on the bus one day, and I was just looking out the window, and he must have thought I was looking at a guy. So when he was fine while we were on the bus. As soon as we got off the bus and we was off of the main road and started to walk to my house, he just slapped me out of nowhere. So I'm saying, okay, well, what is wrong with you? And he began to say, oh, I saw you looking at that guy. And I'm like, what guy? I don't know who you're talking about. And that happened a lot. I couldn't really talk to anyone, even people that I knew from my childhood. And they would see me and talk to me and stuff. And he got an attitude and thought that I was sleeping with them and, all of that. So, it was like every week or a couple times a week, he would, slap me or whatever. And, that was the gist of that.
And how many months pregnant were you when this happened?
I must have been about 7 months pregnant. I must have been about 7 months pregnant then. I was pretty weak. And not only that, I was laying down on the bed and he kicked me off of the bed while I was pregnant. So, it really didn't matter that I was pregnant. He used to accuse me.
Mm-hmm.
Huh? Go ahead.
Did you ever think about leaving him?
I did. I left him a few times. I left, and it was one time in particular when I left. He had abused me and hurt my arm, so I had to go to the hospital. And I called my brother, and he told me, if you call your brother and your brother comes up here, I'm kicking you out. And so I did call my brother, and he kicked me out, and that's when I went to stay with my brother. And even after that, he was saying he was sorry and all of that, and I went back. And it didn't get any better. It just got worse.
So earlier you said that I believe the first encounter happened when you was, at the 6-month mark of dating him?
Yeah, about 6 months. Yeah.
I'm so sorry to even hear that. Yeah. And you stayed for, I believe you said 2 years with him?
Yeah. My daughter was like 2.
And did you ever tell anybody what was going on?
I did. And his parents knew. And no one did anything. But what I did, I went to one of his aunts one day and I was confiding in her and she gave me comfort. And, I felt a little bit better after I spoke to her because I felt like at least somebody's acknowledging it and someone believes me. But I couldn't just go to anybody. If I went to anybody, people wouldn't believe me because they thought he was such an outstanding citizen. He was such a nice guy that nobody believed it.
And did you ever, I'm sure at some point you and him might have discussed, I know you mentioned you had broken up twice and you guys got back together. I mean, did you let him know how his actions was making you feel?
Yes. Yes. I used to cry all the time and tell him, why are you doing this? There's no need for it. I'm not cheating on you. But he thought that, I was cheating on him and stuff like that.
Do you think it might have been his own insecurities?
I think that's what it was. I truly believe that's what it was because he was doing it to me.
Yeah. You can clearly see that. Yes. I mean, what would you tell your younger self now? Like now having gone through that experience and now you're a woman, a mother, 4 children. And you have daughters as well. I mean, what advice would you tell your daughters?
I would tell them to love themselves enough to leave. That's what I would tell them. I would tell them, love themselves enough to leave, and they are enough. Because sometimes us as women, we have a low self-esteem, and we don't feel like we're worthy. You understand? We feel like, okay, well, yes, he hit me, but maybe if I wouldn't have said this or I wouldn't have done that, maybe he wouldn't have reacted that way. And that's a lot of the time that he used to say that those words in particular, He used to say to me a lot of the time, oh, well, if you didn't do this, or you need to shut up, and all of that. And so I kind of started to internalize that.
Yes,
He
yes.
would tell me that I'm crazy. And I started to internalize that and second guess myself and say, okay, well, maybe it is me. Maybe I am crazy. Until I realized one day, no, it's not me. He's crazy and he needs help.
Yes. Did any of his friends know what was going on, like the abuse that he was?
One of his best friends came one day. Him and his best friend was going out. And I was watching TV or something. And he knew I was sitting there watching TV. So his best friend was standing at the doorway waiting for him to finish getting ready or whatever. And when he left, he just turned to, he didn't say anything to me, just just shut the TV off. And his friend said to him, he was like, why are you doing that? Put the TV back on. You saw her watching it. Why would you do that? So they didn't see the actual physical abuse, but they saw how he treated me. Because he didn't really let anybody of his friends see him abusing me. But his parents knew, because we were living in the same house as his parents. So his parents knew, but his friends never really saw it.
But did his parents ever approach him or have a talk with him? Maybe his father?
No. And even if he did, not to that extent. No. His parents were like, they were scared of him. They didn't want to say the wrong thing to him in front of him blowing up and stuff like that. So they really didn't say much like that.
But how now? I know you both were living with his parents and you had your child. How did he treat, his newborn, his baby?
I would say he was okay. He was okay with her. He never abused her or never did anything to her. That was basically at that point, that was his pride and joy, because it was all new and fresh. He didn't have any children. It was only until the later years I would see that he would do things to her, but no, not physically, but mentally and stuff like that, trying to control her, but just to spite me, because he knew that the only way that he can hurt me was through her. So that's what he done.
So what was the last straw? I know there had to be a last straw, a breaking point for you to say, okay, this is enough.
He actually, to be quite honest, Andrew, he was cheating on me left, right, and center. So what happened was, I was talking to a guy at the bus terminal that I had grown up with, and he was in town and saw
and
us
this is in Bermuda. And this is in Bermuda. Yeah. Okay.
Yes. He saw us talking. So I got on the bus. I was going home. Later on that evening, he told me, oh, I saw you talking to that guy. I know you're messing with that guy. It's over. It's over. So he actually was the one that actually really broke up with me. But then after that, he still wanted to have contact with me and still wanted to see me and stuff like that. And I was the one that shut that off.
So just to back up a bit, when you were in college, is he American? Was he in college with you, or is he
Bermudian? He's Bermudian.
Okay. So when you came back to Bermuda, he came back as well.
He was here. He was always here, Landria.
Okay, and he went back and forth, but you went back and forwards. Okay.
Yes, I was the one that was going back and forwards.
Okay, so the physical abuse, the mental abuse, everything was in Bermuda.
In Bermuda, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
But he got me comfortable enough, and I was comfortable enough, and I was, living with him and stuff like that, and that's when it started. But he was always cheating on me. Always.
Do you still see him? Do you ever run into him? I mean, Bermuda's in, he's still here.
Yes, I see him from time to time. I don't have anything to say to him. If you didn't know that we had a child together, you would think that we don't know each other. So I don't really have any. I choose not to have any contact with him because I remember everything that I went through.
Have you forgiven him?
I have forgiven him, but I would never forget it.
And more importantly, have you forgiven yourself? Because I know sometimes
Yes.
as women, we internalize so much and we kind of blame ourselves for what goes on and why we stay. We're question ourselves. So we have to also forgive ourselves because we didn't do
Right.
anything wrong.
Yeah, I have. And that was a path of destruction for me, because that wasn't the first abusive relationship that I had been in. I ran in two more abusive relationships after that. You understand?
Yes.
So now I totally forgive myself. Now I see that it wasn't me. I didn't do anything wrong. It wasn't the fact that I wouldn't shut up, or I said this or I done that. No. Now I realize that is just who they are. And no matter what a woman does or says, it's never going to be good enough. And an abuser is an abuser. Unless they get help, Landria, they're going to continue that cycle. Whether it was me or anyone else, that cycle will continue. So now that I look back on it, I have forgiven myself for it, because I know that I wasn't the cause for him to put his hands on me. He could have walked away. There's several different things that he could have done instead of putting his hands on me. And I say that to say this. Not only that relationship, the other two relationships that I was in after that. Do you understand?
Mm-hmm.
But I had my mentality was, okay, well, I'm going to try to stick it out. I'm going to try to stick it out, and maybe we can get help and stuff like that. But if I'm not willing to do that, I can no longer put myself in the line of fire, or my kids. It has to come to a point. Yes, you can try to support them, but you can only support them to a certain point. At some point, you have to take your hands off and say, okay, listen, do I support this man, or do I end up in a body bag? And my children have no mother or no father. So you have to make that conscious decision at some point. You get me?
I do.
Right. So that's the decision that I had to make. After the last abusive relationship that I was in, Nigeria, I had to make that conscious decision so I can show my children what a healthy relationship should look like. Because if I don't, my children, my girls, and maybe the boys too, because there's some women out there that are abusive as well.
Yes.
If I didn't make that decision, my children, I was afraid that my children would follow in my footsteps. And that would have crushed me to my core. To see my children go through that, because that's what they have seen from me. And I didn't want to be the cause of that. Do you understand?
Yes.
So I had to make a strong, conscious decision to say, this is it. I stuck it out long enough, and this person is not going to change. And a lot of times, Andrea, they tell you that it's you. You're the one that's crazy. You're the one that needs counseling, not them. It's you. Do you understand? To try to make you seem like you're the one that's causing the problem as to why they're abusing you. But it's not. It's in them.
Yes, I agree.
And that's what I had to get away from. I said, no more. No more. I'm not tolerating this anymore. If I stay single for the rest of my life and have some peace, I am okay with that. Versus me being in an unhealthy relationship and an abusive relationship where my children are going to see that. And then they're going to go into abusive relationships. Me as a mother, I couldn't stand by and see my children go to that. So I had to put my foot on and say, enough is enough. If he needs to get help, he needs to get help on his own. I cannot help him. I cannot save him. I have to save myself first. Because if I'm no good, how can I be any good to my kids?
I agree with you 100%. You know, your story touches him for me because you and I have similar experiences,
Mm-hmm.
and domestic violence happens so often. We just don't talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
So when people see you, they see the outside version of you.
Yep.
They have no idea what's going
Yep.
on inside. They have
They
no
have
idea.
no idea
No idea what
behind
happens behind
closed
closed
doors.
doors. I was just about
Yep.
to say that. They have
Yep.
no
They don't
idea
know
what
that.
happens behind closed doors.
Mm-hmm.
So when they see you, they look at you and say, wow, they make a beautiful couple. He's lucky, she's lucky. And they have no idea what's
Yep.
actually happening.
Yep.
You know, I applaud you for sharing your
Mm-hmm.
story, and I
Mm-hmm.
applaud you for identifying your worth
Yep.
and wanting change. And I'm curious to know that when you mentioned to him that you wanted to help or let's go to counseling, what was his take on that? Did he ever go?
No. No. None of them. None of them did. They all said, "Oh no, I don't need help. You're the one that needs help. If you wouldn't do this or you wouldn't say that, then I wouldn't have to put my hands on you."
May is Mental Health Awareness Month.
Mm-hmm.
And I am so prepared. Like I really want women and men to feel safe to talk about their experiences,
Mm-hmm.
not feel judged. And even hearing your story, it's very emotional for me as well.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I
Yeah.
feel men have to be accountable
Mm-hmm.
for their actions. Women
Yep.
too, women too.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
one of my pet peeves that I have is I hate when people say, and I know hate is a very strong word. Well, why didn't she just leave? Why did she stay?
You know why, Andrea? People that are on the outside looking in, they always have a tendency to judge us. But until you've been in that situation, me personally, you don't have the right to judge. Women leave when they are ready to leave, when they've had enough. But a lot of times, Landra, like I said before, we try to stick it out. And especially if we have kids with this man, we try to stick it out because we want our children to have both the mother and the father. But sometimes that can be detrimental to our kids. And if we don't get out, Landria, two things can happen. Actually, three. Either he can kill you or you kill him.
Yes, yes.
Or you end up in prison for
Yeah.
assault or whatever the case may be. And your children are without both parents.
Yes.
You understand?
Yep.
So you have to make a sound decision and say, do I want more for me and my kids? Or am I willing to keep putting my children through this trauma? And when they get older, if this is what they're seeing, they're gonna think that it's okay if a man puts their hands on them. And they're gonna look back and say, okay, well, my mama did it. My mama stayed with him. So, I'm gonna stick it out like my mama did. No, Landra, no.
Mm-hmm.
I advise anyone that is going through physical, verbal, emotional abuse to get out. Unless this man has gone to therapy and gone and got help, Landria, the sufficient help that he needs, it's not going to work. The sorrows after he tears you up,
yeah,
constantly. The sorrows don't matter anymore after a while. That don't matter. It doesn't matter. You have to make that sound decision. Because man, they will say, oh, I'm sorry. It won't happen again. And if you allow that, the first time, Andrew, is going to be a second, third, fourth, fifth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th time. It will, trust me. And it's got to the point. It will get to that point. He can kill you. Or you can snap and kill him. It's not worth it.
Yes, I agree. In your experience, with your first situation as you're describing, what was the worst thing that he did to you? Besides your daughter, I mean, I feel you being pregnant at that time,
And I think the worst thing that he done to me is hit me in my stomach when I was pregnant.
That's what I was gonna say.
I think that was the worst thing, Landra.
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
I think that was the worst thing. But remember, Landra, I have had 2 other abusive relationships since that. Whereas I've been peed on, I've been told that nobody's gonna want me, nobody's gonna marry me, and all of that. And I started to internalize it because he used to tell me, oh, nobody's gonna want you with 4 kids and this. And I started to internalize that. But then I had to say, you know what? No, I'm not accepting that. And now I realize, Landra, is because that's the way they feel about themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So they put that off on you. They put that off on you because that's their insecurities and that's how they feel. So they try to make you feel like you're less than nothing, like you're worthless. And us women, if we stay in it long enough, we start to internalize that, Landra, and we start to believe it. Because I did. I started to believe that nobody would want me with my 4 kids. Until I started talking to my family. My family was my outlet.
That's what I was going to ask you. I was going to ask you that. Who did you
my
talk
family,
to?
Yeah, my family, my sister and my brothers, they were my outlet. If I didn't have them, I don't know where I would be, where would I be now. If I didn't have them to talk to, because they were the ones that helped me to snap out of it. Because I was so deep down in depression, I thought that I was worthless. I thought that I was a piece of shit. Because that's how bad they had broke me down. They broke me down. I was no good to my kids emotionally. I was no good. And I had to snap out of it by the grace of God. It's not luck, Landra, that we got away from this. We are blessed. Yeah. God had his hand on us. Because I told you before, Landra, that the stuff that I've been through, I've been pulled off my bike in front of a bus. I should have been dead. I should have been dead. But only by the grace of God that I'm here.
And you know what? And it's true. It's absolutely 100% true. You know, my question I have to you is that I know you mentioned you've been in 2 or 3. Do you think the first one, you know, broke you to some degree that you didn't see the signs in 2 and 3, or was it that you was depressed and just looking for love?
I think at the first relationship, I think it did break me a bit. Okay. It wore my self-esteem down. So when I got into the second relationship, they all started off the same day. I didn't go in the second and third relationship where this happened within the first 3 or 6 months. The second and third relationship were almost identical. The first year was perfect. After that first year is when I saw the true colors. And I told you, Landra, with my youngest son's father, I told him, I said, well, I wish you would have shown me this in the beginning. And he told me, oh, I wanted you to like me, but now this is the real me. So I didn't go in it with the first couple of months being abused. I went in it, the first year was perfect. So I'm thinking, okay, I'm following Uncle God, but that was all fake. It was all fake.
Yes. Yes. You know, now that you've been through all 3 of them, I mean, how do you view men? What is your opinion now of men?
Landra, to be quite honest and frank, because this is straight talk, no BS, I am very weary. I can't trust like I want to. I have a guard up. I don't want to have this guard up, but I have this guard up. And that's why I'm a firm believer in God. And I pray, and I told you the other day, I pray to God to send me somebody who is right for me. And once God sends you somebody that's right for you, you will know it. But what we do is we deviate. We will pray and ask God to send us somebody, and then we will deviate and go to somebody that He hasn't sent us. You understand? And that's where we go wrong. So now my guard is up and I can see red flags from a mile away. And once you show me that one small red flag, I can't mess with you. I can't.
Yes, that was gonna be my next question.
Now. I have standards now, Landria, that I never had before.
Yes.
And it's harder for me to get a man now because I have these standards. And I'm not gonna lower my standards. I'm not gonna lower what I think I deserve and my children deserve. I'm not gonna lower them for nobody or nothing. So yes, if I'm single for another 3-5 years, I'm fine with that. But guess what, Landra? I have peace of mind, and my children sees me happy and not in a toxic, abusive environment. And I'm fine with that.
Yes.
So I say this again. Whatever God's got for me, Landra, I will get, and He will make sure that I get it. But I just need to wait on Him, and that is what I'm doing.
I am so proud of you.
I'm proud of myself, Landra. I'm proud of myself.
Yeah. I am. I'm just so proud of you, you know. And I wonder if these men are even still continuing the behavior. You think they are?
Of course.
Yeah.
Landra, a leopard don't change its spots.
Yes.
Only way a leopard changes its spots is if they get help and if they seek the necessary treatment. That's the only way that they will change. And Landra, I'm not sticking around for them to change. They need to do that on their own. I'm not doing that. I have children to raise. I don't need another one. You understand?
Yeah, I do.
I need you to meet me where I am at. And if you cannot meet me at this point where I'm at, I don't need you around me. And I definitely don't want you around my kids. That's why I learned, Landra, the next relationship, the next person that God sends me, because I'm waiting for God, the next person that He sends me, I am not gonna just willy-nilly introduce him to my kids. You have to date me for a significant amount of time, and then I will introduce you to my kids and all of that. Yes. But I do have my guard up, Landra. I have my guard up because I've been hurt and abused for so long. And this is new to me. Me being single and all of this, Landra, is new to me. I've always been in relationships.
Yes, I can totally relate to that. I mean, you and I have talked in the past, and I've said to you, I've never dated. I have no idea how to date. I've always either been in a relationship, engaged, married. I've never just dated. So I had no point of reference to what my likes are or what I even should go for, don't go for until it was too late. Yeah, until it was too late.
Yeah. And that's what happens, Mandra. We just rush into these relationships. And like you said the other day, how society is right now, men don't have to work. They don't have to court. They don't have to take you to dinner. They don't have to pull the chair out. They don't have to open the doors for you and all that. Society right now and how the women are today, they just give it up.
Yeah.
I gotta agree with that.
Yeah. Yes, which is very true. I said that we were talking the other day, and I said that to you. I said, you know, men nowadays, they don't know how to court. A lot of men do not court the woman. They don't work for it. It was a time before a man will call you, you have a conversation, you talk for hours, you get to know each other. Then you go on a date, the little first date, see if you like each other's presence. Then it moves on from there. Nowadays, men want to have full relationships with text only. with that WYD, WYA, a whole bunch of emojis. They don't even pick up a phone and have a conversation.
No.
You know, and then the minute you want conversation or ask to please text me a proper text, or if you want to take me out, what time are we going out and where we're going, they move on to the next female. They don't want to put that work in. Why should they?
They don't have to, because society has made it where it is. They don't have to do that now. You see all of these girls on social media twerking and blowing up their asses and blowing up their tits and all that. That's what it's all about for these younger generation.
Yeah.
That's what they think attracts a man. Oh, let me show my ass or let me show my tits. No, you're going to have some sort of class and some sort of morals. You understand?
I agree.
And that's why I teach my kids, my daughters. You don't have to do all that. They know. Don't come in my room half dressed. They know that. I don't say that. I'm not that type of parent. Do not come at me sideways. And this, what I have been through, Andrew, this man has made me very overprotective with my kids. It's made me very overprotective.
Rightfully so, because society in our generation, when we were coming up, it's not like how it is now. Now our children are exposed to so much with social media and TV. Right now, there's a lot going on. I am 100% believer of having those uncomfortable conversations with your children, especially your daughters. I have those conversations with my children. My daughter and my son, they both know my journey. And I set them down and talk to them and let them know this is what I've been through. The first go around was before you was even thought of. But this is why you've seen me react certain ways or don't get involved or whatnot. Don't stay away. Second go around was with their father. My son was fully aware of what transpired. My daughter was young. So I truly believe in you have to have these conversations and you have to let your children know, boys and girls, your sons and your daughters, of what you've been through, especially you let them know the good, but you have to let them know the bad as well.
Yeah.
Because you need for them to know that if they ever find themselves in a situation that they know their instincts make them know something's wrong, they have to have that outlet. They have to be able to know they can come to you and tell you immediately. It would absolutely kill me to know that my daughter is being abused and she never came to tell me or tell me anything. If I knew myself, I had experienced it twice and never talked to her about it, then I would definitely blame myself. That is my focus. Had I probably talked to her, she would have known the signs to look out for. She would have said, hey, Mom, this is what happened. What do you think? So these conversations have to happen, and they have to happen now, sooner than later. Even for our sons, we have to let our sons know what's acceptable, what's not.
Exactly.
Those conversations need to take place. And this thing about women saying, well, it's just me, or I'm a single parent. It doesn't matter. You're an adult. You can have conversations with your son and let your son know, hey, you're going to be of age dating. This is what you don't do. Pay attention. I have it with my son all the time. As soon as
mine all the time.
Yes, I'm sure you do, Crystal. You talk to him?
And I talk to even my 10-year-old, Andrew. I talk to him and let him know, when you become a man, this is what you should be. This is how you should act.
Yeah.
Nowadays, I don't even think it's when you become a man. I think it's as a boy, as a young man in general, like these things start from such young ages. I think it's important to even teach our kids from very young the importance of self-respect and respecting the opposite sex. I think once they learn that from a young age, when they do become older, even our daughters, we gotta teach them too to not accept any old thing. Like, my man, you're gonna have to open my door. You're gonna have to pull my chair out.
Yes, yeah, I agree.
Right, Andrew. So that's why I say it. I just said, I talk to my son and let him know what I expect of him and how he should behave. Yeah, I just said that. I'm telling him now how I expect him to behave, so he knows when he gets older this is how I am supposed to treat a woman.
Yes.
You understand?
Absolutely.
I tell him, you have one girlfriend or whatever, or if you get married, you don't cheat on her, you don't abuse her, you don't say this to her, you treat her with kindness and love and compassion. And the main thing is communication.
Yes.
And trust. That because if you don't have that, and even with our kids, we have to communicate to them what they should be, so that they can be a productive member of society, so they can be a good husband, a good father, so that they won't repeat the pattern that they have seen.
Yes.
A good human being.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And that's where it goes back to lead by example. You can't expect your children to act accordingly if you're not acting accordingly.
Exactly. That's
if
why
you're demonstrating, you have to. If I'm demonstrating to my daughter, her mom's with Tom, Dick, and Harry, and she sees a lot of me, she's gonna think it's normal.
Yeah.
So you have to. I'm a strong believer in lead by example. You have to lead by example, and you have to have open communication.
Yeah.
I have open communication with my children about any topic. Some people may not agree, to each his own. Every household is different, but in my household, they're allowed to have open conversations.
I agree.
I don't want to hear the conversations.
Yes. Yeah. Landra, I agree, because remember, Landra, when we were growing up, right? We were seen and not heard.
Absolutely.
Oh,
we
yeah.
really didn't have an opinion.
Yeah.
Because we were children. But what I teach my kids is that your opinion matters. I want to listen to what you have to say. It's no more that they should be seen and not heard. No, they have feelings. Just because they're kids, they have feelings just like you and I. They're human beings. They have feelings.
Yes.
And our feelings are valid. And that's what I teach them. That's why now my children come to me and talk to me about anything. And that's what I want. I want them to come to me and be able to talk to me about anything. And they do that.
I agree. I agree that we have to break our own generation. Like for myself, you mentioned on it, you know, being raised in Bermuda in a two-family household for myself, my parents never had that conversation about when you start dating or what to look out for. It was just a matter of don't get pregnant.
Yeah.
Babies here, you can't live here. You know, tell me my brothers, tell my brothers, don't get nobody pregnant. For me, don't you get you can't live here. It was never a conversation of, hey, daughter, you're going to be dating soon, or guys are going to be attracted to you. Be careful. There's going to be some out there with bad intentions, some with good intention. You know, understand your worth. No is no. Those type of conversations didn't happen. They didn't happen.
No, it didn't with me either, Landra. I had to find out everything on my own.
Right. And that's where I go to say that sometimes I find that people that find themselves in domestic violence situations, that if you really go back to when they were even children, did their parents ever talk to them? And even those sons that are out there beating off of women, and daughters, and women do that as well.
Yes.
But there are people that know that they're abusers. My question is, instead of always asking the victim, why do you leave? Why don't the same friends of that young man who's beating the women say to him, hey, buddy, that's not cool. You can't put your hand on a woman like that. Hold him accountable. Because if they're held accountable, or they're exposed to who they really are, then they're forced to get the help they need.
Yeah. But but Andrea, yes, they are. I wouldn't say that they're forced. I would say that they're forced because some friends could tell them, but it's up to them. Nobody could force them.
Absolutely.
Yeah, nobody could really force them. They have to be the ones to want to get the help. They have to be the ones to acknowledge that, hey, I need help. It don't matter what anybody says to a person, whether it's with abuse, drug addiction, alcoholism, or whatever. They have to be the first ones to realize, I need help.
Right.
So it don't matter how many people say, oh, you shouldn't be doing this, or you shouldn't be hitting her, you shouldn't be smoking crack, you shouldn't be doing it. It's up to that individual. So that's why I say it, Andrew. It's up to, that's why I'm not babysitting a man. I'm not gonna allow a man. I'm not gonna say, oh, I'm gonna stick it out and be there and help that man. When next week I could be in a body bag. You have to make that sound decision for you and your kids. You can, and us women, we try to save these men. We try to help them.
Yeah. And you know, it's scary because there are so many women that's currently in situations right now that need help. Some that have already gone through it, have never healed. And those who haven't healed either continue to make the same mistakes, take their own lives. You know, it's a really big issue that needs to be addressed. So I just hope that people start feeling more comfortable talking about their experiences. And it's not even a matter to bring shame to the abuser. But it's to give a platform to the victims, you know, to be able to talk and to let them know, one, they're not alone. Two, you know, we're here to help. You know, you need a safe space to be able to cry. You know, embarrassment for me, embarrassment was the key that kept me from just saying anything.
Yeah, me too.
Which is embarrassment of what people's going to think of me. Like, oh my God, you know, Bermuda's so small. You know, whatever you say, it just goes wildfire, you know? So for me, it was embarrassment. Embarrassment stopped me from having a voice and addressing the situation. And for me, I left Bermuda to get away from my situation. I just left.
Yeah.
You know, so I just hope anyone that's listening can take away a few points from this podcast, from our conversation.
But it's one other thing I wanted to tell you too, Landra, is that us women, when we're in abusive relationships, like with family was my backbone. I used to talk to them and stuff like that. But it gets to a point, Landra, whereas your family could only give you so much advice. They can tell you to leave and all of that. And they can come to your rescue, but so many times before they get tired. Because I called on them so much, especially with my youngest son's father. I called on them so much. And when they will come to my rescue, I would still go right ahead and go back to him. So they got tired. They got tired of coming to my rescue. And it got to a point where I didn't even call them anymore.
Yeah.
I didn't call them.
Because it's like
because number one, I was too embarrassed. Number two, I knew that I should have left and I didn't.
Yeah.
You understand? So like I said before, it's up to the individual to want to change. No, I had to make up my mindset, whereas, you know what, enough's enough. I have to get out.
Yeah.
Because people get tired of coming to your defense and you crying wolf 2, 3, 5, 6, 10 times. And they're coming to your rescue and you keep going back into that same situation. And there's a lot of women that do that. They call the police and then they drop the charges. A lot of women do that. And you know what happens, Landra? The next time they cry wolf so many times.
Yeah.
The next time, they're dead.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and you're absolutely right. You know, for my situation, my family, my first one, and second, my family suspected, but my first one, my family didn't know. And how it came to light, and I swear God, things happen for a reason. For me, how it came to light was my brother had came to visit me. I didn't know he was coming. And as I was being choked and hair banged against the wall, I was hanging in the air, feet off the ground, dangling, hair banged against the wall, being choked, delivering life out of me. There was a knock at my door, and it was my brother. And I stormed, I screamed, and that's what actually made my abuser drop me. And when I screamed, my brother broke the door in, and they went at it, but the police was called. And that day, it was supposed to happen. But even after that happened and the police was called and everything, 6 months later, I would say 4 to 6 months later, I was back with him.
Mm-hmm.
And that time being back with him wasn't by choice, but I always knew I lost some respect for my brother for giving back.
Mm-hmm.
I knew.
Yep.
And that used to haunt me for years.
Mm-hmm.
Never talked about it, but I knew in my heart the disappointment in him.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
are you serious?
Yeah.
Like, this guy practically almost killed you. Like, are you really serious? I remember that day, so I knew exactly what you say about that. And then even with that, there's the embarrassment of your family now.
Yep.
And then you're just so ashamed yourself, where you're questioning yourself, what is wrong with me?
Yes.
So I can totally agree with you. I've been there. You question yourself, like, what am I doing? What is wrong with me? Like,
yes,
this is not
Landra.
who I am.
Why do I keep
like I am not this person?
Yes.
Yeah.
Why do we keep going? So in actual fact, Landra, I had to dig down deep, Landra. And when I dug down deep, I didn't like what I saw in that mirror. I really didn't like what I saw in that mirror. It was one day in particular. I went inside and was getting ready for work. I got a shower and I was doing my hair in the mirror. And I just broke down crying. Because the person that was looking back at me in that mirror, I didn't like it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't like it.
I know. It's okay. I know. I know.
And that is when I made that decision that I'm going to get out.
I know.
I have to get out. I have to do this for my kids. I can't love this man more than my kids. And I had to go. He had to go. And that was the most profound moment. And I never even tell you that, Andrea. But that was my most profound moment when I looked in that mirror and I saw myself. Wow. And I hated the person that I saw. Yeah. I hated the person that I saw because what I was doing to my kids and what they were experiencing. Yeah. I hated that person. And I said, God, please, I got down on my knees and I said, God, please give me the strength to get out of this situation. And I did. And I never looked back. Never looked back.
And I know it had to be a difficult journey. You know, like I said, I can relate. And I'm just so proud that you made the decision.
Yeah, I'm proud of myself.
I am so proud of you. And no matter what anybody thinks, feels, you did the right thing. So,
and Andrew, you know, I didn't want to cry. You know, I didn't want to cry. I told you ahead of time, I didn't want to cry.
I'm here crying with you. I'm here crying with you. So there's nothing wrong with crying because you have to cry.
But I felt like I had to do this, even if I saved one person. No, I'm fine with that. Because domestic abuse is no joke. Women are dying. Thousands of women are dying each year from this. And they have to love themselves enough and their kids enough to get out. You have to get out.
Yes.
It's no more trying to help this person. It's no more of that. You have to help yourself first. If you can't help yourself first and you're trying to help this person and you can't help yourself first, where do your kids come in? Yeah. Where do they come into play?
I know.
They should be the number one priority. And instead, what we women do, we push our kids to the side and we make these men our priority. Mm-hmm. And it needs to stop. Because if not, a lot of thousands of women are dying and they're leaving their children without no mother and no father.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I didn't want that blood on my hands. I didn't want that, Andrea. I didn't. So I had to make that strong decision to get out.
You know, I am always here for you, and you know I love you. I'm always here for you.
I love you too, Nan.
And we have very honest, raw conversations.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I'll always be here, and I can relate to exactly every word that came out of your mouth.
Mm-hmm. And I want to let people know, if I can.
Yes, absolutely.
Fuck, and you know, excuse my language, but fuck the embarrassment.
Yeah. Yes.
That's only gonna last for a while. But once y'all out of it and y'all at peace, that's gonna last forever. Once you get out. So you need to get out. Please, whoever's listening, please, I'm begging you, please get out.
Well, I want to thank you again for trusting Chris and I with interviewing you. Thank you so much for being so transparent. Thank you for sharing everything. And I hope people that's listening do take away some valuable information and understand exactly where you're coming from. You know, domestic violence is serious. And I appreciate you so much for sharing your story.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you so much, Dalinda.
No problem.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
For anybody out there listening that, you know, that need to call somebody or you need to speak to somebody, there's absolutely a domestic violence hotline that you can call. You can even text them. You can even chat them if you're in a situation where you can't even make a phone call. You know, it's just remember the number 1-800-799-SAFE. Okay, 1-800-799-SAFE. Again, Dalinda, thank you so much for sharing your story.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Okay, talk to you later, Lan.
All right, love you.
Love you. Bye, Crystal.
Bye-bye. Thank you again.
Bye. Bye.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to another great episode of Straight Talk No BS, the podcast. Like, share, follow us on all social platforms, as well as our podcast platforms. Also, check us out on our website for the next episode, next events, and to enter in your stories. Stay tuned and stay blessed.